It's me, Puppy. My mommy is the best. Super mom will be next. She helps mommy get those smiles back. To get those back. Others might go back. You wait for the show. Watch. Get ready for that super discovery. That super squad.
Welcome to Healing for the Soul podcast, sponsored by Supermom Robin Stoltman, where every week I feature different guests to empower you to become the best version of yourself through different methods you may not have heard of or thought of. If you are ever looking for a virtual assistant, I highly recommend Sphere Rocket to delegate any business-related tasks like grow your social medias, book appointments, and much more that all businesses require, boosting your sales, productivity, and much more. The link to Sphere Rocket is at the bottom of this episode, and this is season 6, episode number 56. Today I have my guest, Jay Ramsden, the enlightening voice behind the Empty Nest Coach on TikTok and Instagram. He helps people navigate the uncharted seas of midlife and empty nesting by thoughtfully unraveling the threads of change, growth, and self-discovery in what has become the next chapter for parents once the kids are grown and flown. Jay helps parents discover the endless opportunities awaiting them in this new phase of life, because life doesn't end in our 40s, 50s, and beyond. It begins again. So Jay is a certified personal and executive coach, the host of This Empty Nest Life podcast, and has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, W, T as in Thomas, O, P as in Paul, News, Radio, W, C, B as in Boy, S, News, Radio, A, X, I, O, S, D, C, and the Daily Blast live show. And today we are talking about intentional empty nesting, crafting a purposeful life after active parenting. Thank you so much, Jay, for being here with our audience.
I'm excited to be here. Robin, mom of 8. Are you ready to talk about empty nesting?
Oh, yeah, no, not at any point this time, no. So how did you, let's start with your background. What got you into this? And can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I ended up as, the empty nest coach. It goes back to the beginning. I started doing some discovery of why, what's your why in life? And what I found out is all along everything I've ever done in life, from lifeguarding to being involved in high school and college admissions to being a tech person in schools, is I was always helping people solve problems and find a better way to move forward. And if you think about all those things, they solve a problem. Yeah. And then life coaching is the same thing, right? I help people solve problems and find a better way to move forward in life. And the empty nest piece came just because I was an empty nester and I started talking about it and people started following me. And so the coaching piece came because it was oh, there's something here. It's how do we answer the question, what now and what's next once the kids leave home? And I know we talked briefly when, before we hit record here, is you were oh no, that's not going to work for me. I'm not ready for that piece. Right. And so you said, I said, how many kids? You said 8. I'm all right, well, you got a long ramp, it's prolonged to get there. But also, lots of people aren't prepared for it. They're not ready for it. They don't want the kids to leave home. They haven't necessarily said, oh, I've taught them all the things I needed to teach them. And that's, I love that. I love that kind of stuff, helping people realize, there is 2 parts to this story with empty nesting.
That helps. That piece is very important, like you said, for all the different facets that you're working with, and how so many parents think or believe that they haven't yet taught their children all that they need to know before they're 18. I've never agreed with that whole 18 years old, now they know everything, let them loose. To me, we still need our parents for
Always.
so many different things. And so how do you help parents cope with that? The ones that are myself, that are they're never mine aren't ready to leave anytime soon, but I'm just saying how do you help them cope with that? The ones
Yeah,
that are like, I want to hold them, don't want them to go, but
I
I know
want
they
them to
have
be close
yes,
by me for
yes.
a really long time. And there's nothing wrong with that either, right? That whole desire to keep people, family close. Family is so important in our lives, but it's like there's an understanding of we've done our jobs as parents, and it's natural for them to leave the nest and go and adult and do the things that they want to do and explore. And the way that I help people is like sometimes people's identity, self identity, gets so wrapped up in being a parent, right? And so think of it as like if your whole identity is wrapped up in being the kids of Robin, right? People introduce us that way all the time, right? Oh, this is Jay, Connor, or Caitlin's dad. No, I'm Jay, right? As opposed to the parent. And so when our identities get so wrapped up in like, how do we find ourselves outside of just being a parent? And that is what I help people do, is kind of unravel that a little bit. It's like, no, you're a person first. You're allowed to be a person and also get to be a parent. And that's pretty magical. But when the kids start to leave and they go off exploring, it's time for you to explore a little bit too.
So what's some of the exploring that you've done? Because I noticed, like in your bio, I noticed that you climbed Kilimanjaro. Isn't that like the one of the world's tallest mountain, or I'm thinking of Everest?
So yeah, they do fall into the realm of the top 10 tallest mountains, and Kilimanjaro is one of them. It is the tallest mountain that isn't technical to climb. And so you don't need ice picks and ropes and that sort of thing. It literally is a hike, but it also is tall. It's like over 19,000 feet. And so that was the very yeah, exactly, plain height. Plain height. That was one of the first things that I did, because I was just open to saying yes to things once the kids left home. And I think that's a great tool for people who are like, "Ooh, what am I going to do?" Is just starting saying yes. Just people invite you places, or they have an idea, just say yes. Don't say no. Just say yes. That's how it got started. And I just started going from there. Like I've climbed a bunch of mountains since then, a lot smaller, but I fell in love with that, with the hiking piece and being close to nature. And I've walked the Camino de Santiago in Spain, the last 100 kilometers of one of the routes, the Portuguese route. And I don't know, every day or every month, I try to find something that's like pushing myself out of my comfort zone. So what was it? A couple of weekends towards the end of maybe the first beginning part of October, I decided to climb two mountains in one weekend, both over 4,000 feet. It's like one day and one the next day, just to see, like, what am I capable of?
I love that because of me, I'm like, um,
But
I
think
wouldn't
think think about it for
but thinking
yourself.
about
Yeah,
mountain, I'm
yeah.
like I've seen the mountains out in Colorado. I think those ones are the Rocky, if I remember right. Or
Mm-hmm.
no,
Yep,
those are
yeah,
the Rocky that way because I remember Appalachian was the other way.
yep.
Um, like I've seen those mountains and they're amazing. Like that was the first time I ever saw mountains in my life, and I just remember that they're so beautiful and they're big.
They are
And I took
big.
a piece of the mountain, like for the rock that was there, because they're red. I'm like,
Yeah,
you don't get to see very many red rocks.
that's true. That's
In
true.
real
Yeah,
life.
those are 14. Most of those are 14. They call them 14ers. They're 14,000 feet, most of the mountain tops in Colorado.
Oh
And
wow,
so I know people who live in Colorado who I've hiked with, and that's what they do for like exercise. They just get up and climb a 14,000 footer.
wow, interesting. So that's why there was certain areas where you could go do that because like it was so
Mhm.
interesting to drive between the mountains there, like, and then it's like big signs, watch for falling rock. And I'm like, is that a real thing? Are they like trying to test us, like test our driving skills? Or is that just like something to just be like, oh, hey, this is a possibility?
This
Like,
is a possibility. Yeah. Yeah. Mountains do crumble constantly. Yeah.
but I mean, like, that was something that was interesting. That's why I'm like, Kilimanjaro. I'm like, what continent is that on?
It's in Africa. It's in the country of Tanzania, which is on the east coast of Africa in South. They call it East Africa. So
Wow. I did not know that. That's so interesting because I'm like I remember that Tim Allen was saying on Tool Time back when it was a TV show about he's like when he's talking to Wilson, he's like, why would you want to climb a man? Why would you want to climb a mountain that starts with kill a man? You know, like it's
Oh,
like
I don't remember that
you remember
episode, but
that
that's
show?
right. No, yeah. Why would you want to start something that says kill a man? Yeah.
Yeah, that's where my thing is like what intrigued you about the mountains where you've climbed so many in that, and how does that relate to parenting, or does it even relate to the parenting and to like the empty nesting? Do you learn anything in that?
Yeah, I think it ties itself to it, Robin, because it is about literally climbing, right? We all have mountains that we climb figuratively every day, right? So as parents, parenting, at work, emotional, physical, financial, we all have mountains that we need to climb. So it's literally the embodiment of a real mountain. For me, was like, okay, if I can do this, then I can do anything. Literally, like if I can climb a actual mountain, then I can handle and climb any figurative mountain that I'm up against, which is usually dealing with our thoughts and feelings about stuff. And that's where coaching comes in, right? Coaching is all about dealing with your thoughts and feelings and kind of working through them and knowing like the skills to do it. So climbing an actual mountain has skills to it. The equipment that you bring, the tools you bring along, the map, knowing where you're going, how long it's going to take, those sort of things. And you can apply those same things to your own life, no matter what it is you're trying to work on or accomplish.
I would agree because yeah, there's so many different ways of having to climb a mountain, or like because you can't go through it, like you can't go through it. And it's like I'm thinking of that song, like um that bear hunt. I'm going on a bear hunt. They have the mountain in there.
Mm-hmm.
I have little kids. I'm just saying, but it's like they literally in that song, "How to Catch Going on a Bear Hunt." I was like, you can't go over it, can't climb through it. Can't go under it. You got to go through it. And it's like that's kind of like the mountain.
Yeah,
You can't like go directly through it, but you have to go over it. But even in your life, it's like you're still going through it,
that's right.
to the
Yeah.
other side of it.
Yeah, it's and life is kind of like that, right? The only way kind of out is through,
Yeah.
right? So if you think about it almost like a door, is like if you are trapped in a problem, right? The only way out is through that door. That's the exit. So the only way out is through. And so for me, just even being connected to nature just reminds me like how big the world is and how many people are in it. Even when I'm out there by myself sometimes, it's just a good reminder to be like, no, I can really do anything.
Well, that's good to know though, because that's very helpful. Like at the same time, like you're using the nature aspect of it. And then also I was thinking like how can like the empty nesters, because like I said, I'm not gonna be for a while, but how can the empty nesters apply these concepts that you're learning to the concept of overcoming that anxiety of the separation from their children?
Yeah, and so the very first thing is really getting comfortable with doing uncomfortable things. And the very first thing is dropping your kid off at school, or maybe saying goodbye to them if they go into the service, or even if they just move out and get a job, right? All of those are things that feel uncomfortable for a reason, right? And there's a lot of emotion that's attached to it, right? And so the first part is, oh my God, I didn't teach them everything I need to know. And that's a big driving force for folks like, oh, what happens if they run into this situation? And we never covered that. Well, they'll figure it out. They will. Just like you figured it out because your parents didn't teach you everything either.
No,
And
they
so
taught
it's always a good
me
reminder.
broke.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to interrupt, but like they taught me all the ways how to be broke. They taught me all the things of not to do. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one way to look at it, because it's like I was still learning from them of what never to do, and then I could apply it differently. So is that what you're saying would help parents to, in a way, too, like when they get that I didn't teach them everything?
Yeah. There's a country song that says, I taught you everything you know, but not everything I know.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a lyric to it, right? There's a
okay.
country song like that. And so it just makes us mindful that, you know what, we don't have to teach them everything, right? They have to go through things so they learn on their own, right? Otherwise, well, so think about your kids, right? You have 8 kids, one newborn, but all different stages. Like when they started to walk, right? You didn't teach them how to walk,
No, no.
right? No, you didn't. I mean, you may have supported them in that journey, right? Holding their little hands as they
Yeah.
kind of stabled them, right? But you didn't actually teach them how to walk. They taught themselves. And that is such an important reminder, right? One of the things I talk about with folks is like there's 3 stages to parenting. I used to talk about this when I worked in education. Is like the
Yeah.
very first stage, like so there are some teachers who are like the sage on the stage. They just spit all the knowledge to the kids in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then there's some teachers who are the mentor in the center. It's like a back and forth, a give and take. And then some are just a guide on the side, right? When it comes to big projects, that's sort of thing. Parenting is the same thing. So right now, for a lot of your kids, your younger ones, you're the sage on the stage. Like, don't touch the stove; it's hot, right? Like, you just want to tell them all the things, right? Yeah,
Yeah, stay off the table, quit doing this, quit touching
exactly.
each other. Like, how hard is it to keep your hands to yourself? I got seven. Seven of them are boys and only one girl. So I'm really,
Ooh, constantly stop touching each other.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. And then like when they get to be in the teenage years, and you're not quite there yet, but it's coming. You almost become like the mentor in the center. Like they are starting to learn things on their own, right? That you're not teaching them, but you're also kind of giving them some balance to be like, ooh, you really want to go down that path, like that friend or that situation or this thing with that coach or teacher. And then when they go off to college, you really just become the guide on the side. Like they call you when they need you. And that becomes less and less. And so that's kind of how I look at it. And that's what you need to be prepared for, is kind of becoming the guide on the side, this part-time employee of your kids instead of the full-time parent.
Now I'm questioning my life choices with my husband.
How so? Tell me, what do you mean?
Well, because I'm just like, he doesn't talk. My kids talk. Like there's a difference. Like,
Mm,
he really doesn't talk. Like I want to ask him questions about like parenting, like can you help with this, or like business, can you give me some ideas in this, or just different things, and he just really doesn't talk. And so it's like it bothers me because I'm like, I'm having to make all the decisions. I'm the one that's the leading. I'm the one that's doing everything that I feel like, because essentially I am. And then I'm like, okay, this is not going to go well when the kids leave home, because I'm like, who are you by the time we get? Do
that's a
other
question that
parents
comes up a
get that?
lot.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking. That's why I'm like, I'm questioning the life. It's
Yeah.
not to be mean, but it's just like we're raising them together with very little help, on like how he would. It's the help on, I want his input on how to raise them. Like he does the diapers, like he helps like with cooking and taking care of the kids. Like he helps with that. But it's like the really hard stuff, like when the boys won't stop touching each other. It's like, just keep your hands to yourselves. Could you just go outside and play and not decide to pick up a stick and try to hit somebody? Like, why can't they just leave their sister alone? Like some of those parenting things, like, could you help with that? But it's like, then when you get older and it's like you hit that life point, it's like, now what do I do?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have
It
clients
happens.
like that.
It does. It happens a lot, right? When the kids leave, parents look at each other, as a couple, and are like, I don't know if I know you anymore, really, right? Because the kids were kind of in the middle, and you were both kind of running in the same direction, and the kids were running interference the whole time. And you're like living separate lives together, but the kids were the focus. And then all of a sudden, you're like, ooh, now what? What does that look like? And then that just kind of exacerbates the kids have left, and what do I do, and how do I answer the question what now, and what's next?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm like, I don't like to think about it. Because it's like I'm the long-term visionary thinker, and he's very much day by day and not like really there, like long term. That's why I'm like, I probably I already know I have those thoughts, because it's like my other thing. Like I told him this morning, I'm like, what are you guys gonna do when I'm dead? Like, and I'm not here because I'm like, I'm the leader in the house, and it's like, what's gonna happen? And it's like, none of us know when we're gonna go,
Right.
but still, it's like, how's anybody gonna operate without me? Like, I'm the glue, and so many of us women, I think anyway, are the glue. Like we're the ones that hold everybody together. And like when we fall apart or something happens, it's like, who takes care of us? Who's gonna take care of this, of the kids? Like, I guess I got so many empty nester questions. I'm going to do horrible. I guess
No, you'll be great. The only
we
person
need
who's going
help.
to take the only person who's going to take care of you is you, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
it's true in life. As humans, right, our number one instinct is to take care of ourselves. It's just a natural kind of part of who we are as human beings because it's like, how do we survive? Literally, how do we survive? And people do that in all different ways. Okay. And so when you get to be an empty nester, that has to kick in more is like, how do I survive now? What does that look like? What do I want my life to look like? What do I want to do? Who do I want to become? Where do I want to go? Who do I want to interact with? Those are all questions that you can constantly ask yourself even before you get to be an empty nester. You can think about this right now. I mean, just look at what you've done with your business, right?
Yeah,
You're like, I needed to do something. You spun up Healing for the Soul Plus and off and running. And that was something like you can continue to do those types of things.
that's true. That's where I've been like in business because this has been a full year it took me just to do the rebrand for the business. And I've had a couple of people ask, like, are you just new in business? I'm like, no, I've been doing this for 7 years for the hypnosis part of things. Like I've been running it, but apparently like it's new, like when you're going through a rebrand. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like I didn't even realize like the whole time, like one of my things is I really want to help the younger generation, like the Gen Z and the Alpha, because I'm raising the Alpha and like the Gen Z tweeners, like because all my the kids' ages groups. And my thing is that yeah, I'm raising that generation, but I want to show them that you can be an entrepreneur, have a large family like I've got, and still have a business and still make it work without having to send your kids to daycare. Like that's what I'm doing. But it's
Perfect.
like,
Yeah.
how do you get that out there more for people to understand? Like, hey, you can do this too at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah. You're going to be more ready for emptiness than you think,
Oh
right?
boy, that's a
Because
good thing.
one of the thing about empty nesting, like as I talk about, is like becoming an example of what's possible for your kids, right? We don't stop learning and growing,
Never.
right? And so you're already doing that. You're already being an example to your kids. So how powerful is that, right? You're just going to live into it more because you're going to have more time for it.
True. That is very true.
Yeah. So just think how you might be able to like 10x it or 20x it because of the time that's given back to you because you're not parenting full time. Like
True.
the opportunities are endless.
Well, yeah, they are, and that's one of the things that I'm like when I'm thinking about it is that I want my kids to grow up to be entrepreneurs. I want them to expand and like for my goal for them, and like this is what I was hoping that as they get older and like this empty nesting when that happens, what I would like is to have like the healing for the soul be like this son decided to do this with it. This son decided to add this facet to it. Like they're adding different things to it that I never even thought of. But that's where I'm like, I'm guiding and leading. I'm seeing their different gifts and talents now. And I'm like, I got to capitalize on this by helping them grow in those areas. So this way they know, okay, this is what I'm good at. Don't follow the bad advice I was given, like work on your weaknesses. I'm never
Oh,
going to be on time.
lean into your strengths. Lean
Yes,
into
yes.
your strengths.
Time is not mine. So that's why I'm like, do what I can. The most I could do was make sure my watch was 10 minutes fast. That's the most I could do. And I'm like, I'm not going to focus on the rest of it. But like, even in that, when the parents are making that switch, you know, and they're getting ready, and I know like most of them, I'm 39, so like most of my friends, they're hitting that empty nester stage.
Yeah, probably
And I'm
another
like,
couple of years.
yeah, and me,
Yeah.
I'm like, I've got nothing, but it's like, do you help people in that area where, like in my case, my friends that I grew up in high school with, they're hitting empty nester. Some of them, a couple of them already hit that. And then there's me, and I'm like, I'm still having them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
Yeah.
fit into that crowd anymore.
That's
It's
the thing is like
different.
the range is huge when it comes to empty nesting, right? It could be literally anywhere from 36, even 35, right? If you have kids way early,
Yeah.
36 to 60. Right? There could I mean that could be that's the range of people whose kids are just going off to school. or going into the military, or going out in the workforce, whatever it may be. It's a huge range. So nobody is on the same path. We're on the same journey, but we're not on the same path. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that is, right, we're on the same journey as parents.
Yep.
Trying to do best by our kids, but we're not on the same path, because everybody's path is unique to them, because they're human and they're an individual. So the path that you're walking is different.
Yeah. Well, that's still, I appreciate that perspective and that shift, because it's like I said, it's hard to relate to my friends that are their children are already in the teens, like they're done. And me, I'm like, I'm just beginning, is what I had said a couple times. And I was like, what? The moment that phrase left, I was like, was this applying to kids? Like, I didn't know where.
How amazing is that, though? You're still on that journey. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. But I'm like, I didn't know like where that phrase like popped out of my mouth. I'm like, was that like to the kids, or was that to like business? Like, where was this really just, I still haven't figured out like what that exactly is for me. But I had wanted to know, like, the book that you've been writing, this Empty Nest Life, Navigating the Challenge of Change. What's the most surprising insight about that change that you've uncovered in your own research and identity beyond the parenting?
Yeah, Robin, I think the biggest insight is that more people struggle with empty nesting than people talk about.
Oh.
That's the biggest insight. Lots of people are like, oh yeah, empty nesting, that's amazing. Kids are gone, no responsibility. Everybody should be having just an amazing time. More people struggle with it than talk about it, because there's a whole lot of shame and guilt with, like, you were pretty honest, right? When you're like, I'm going to struggle with it.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
already know.
But not everybody's like that. Most people are like, if I tell people I struggle with it, on some level, they're going to make fun of me. Right.
Oh.
They're going to tease me. They're going to say, what are you, crazy? You've got no responsibility. You did your job.
Yeah.
But what if you have a deeper connection with your kids or your role as a parent? So people don't talk about it. There's a whole lot of shame and guilt in it. And so that was the biggest insight, I think, in talking to people in the research, is that so many, and I see it all the time in my social media feed is like, so many more people struggle with it than actually talk about it. And my goal is to get more people talking about, no, it can be a struggle for people.
Wow. Now that's making me think. One of the things that I've struggled with is like, I had infertility. I had it for over 5 years before I had my kids. That's why I already know that empty nester is going to be harder, because it's like, for me to even stop to think about the idea of not having any more children terrifies the crap out of me.
Yeah, because you worked extra hard to have them.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Most definitely. That's why I'm like, I know the empty nesting won't go well for that reason. But now it's like, when you said that, like, a lot of people are just like, they're closet hiding this fear. Now it's like giving me like, you know what, maybe it wouldn't be so bad if I did talk about the infertility. I know, because there's so many people that have it, but it's hard to talk about. And it's almost like what you said about, it's same like what you said about, like, for this empty nesting, that it's hard to talk about. Like, there's that shame, there's that maybe the guilt to it. Like, did I do everything? Like, some of those questions that we've already asked. Like, those are some of the things that just keep popping up in my mind.
Exactly.
And you said that that's where you had started out, was on like the TikTok and the Instagram, just talking about it. Is that where all those followers came then? Like, where you like, when was your aha moment that I need to help more people with this? I need to write my book. I need to help.
Yeah, I think that aha moment came so I got on TikTok like a lot of people did during the pandemic, just to kind of mess around and see what it was about and do goofy stuff and try and bring some laughter or levity into the world. And then, I just started talking about my journey and life in general. It wasn't specifically around empty nesting. And I got to be, a couple thousand followers. But when I started about talking about empty nesting specifically and the struggles with empty nesting, I went from like 9,000 followers to 50,000 followers in a matter of maybe 6 months. And that's when it was like, oh, there's a lot of people out here and a lot of people who struggle with it. So I felt like it was a service to show up and talk about it and offer my services and insights and help people and just be kind of a voice for people who maybe aren't able to say how they're feeling about it, and to normalize it for folks that it is a tough transition.
Yeah. Well, that's
So that was
exciting.
that was the aha moment.
No, that's helpful because yeah, like I said, I just keep going back to it. I already know. That's why, like when I seen you were gonna we were gonna be talking about this, I was like that role, that shift in life. It's like me right now. I'm like it's hard to think about, but at the same time, it's like I tell my kids, slow down on growing up. The one I feel bad because he
Don't go
cries.
so fast. Yes.
Yeah, he's only 9, like the one, and he cries whenever I tell him, slow down, you're growing too fast. And then it's like, no, I'm like, you don't have to be sad about it, like where till he cries. I'm just like, I just say it and he just starts crying. And I'm like, it's okay though. I'm like, you're supposed to grow. Because my mom was pointing out that I have some gray hair like over here. And I'm like, that's a good thing. I'm supposed to get old. I'm like, that's part of me,
That's how it works.
you
Yeah.
know? I'm like, this is a good thing. But it's like, it was that aha moment, like for him of, oh, we're like, I'm supposed to grow. I'm supposed to do this. Like, you're supposed to get old and older and more gray and all that. And he's in that stage of life
Mm-hmm.
where he is really getting the concept. So it's almost like what you said, that there's those 3 different stages of parenting. And he's in that, okay, I'm kind of learning a little bit more. But then I'm like, okay, how does this apply to me? And so is that in your book then too, or are you still working on those parts of your book yet?
Yeah, I'm still working on those components. Like that piece is in there. And then also like there's 3 stages to empty nesting, which is in there as well. And the 3 stages are grief, relief, and joy. Those are the 3 stages. And those aren't like, you don't go from grief to relief to joy. Some people go right to joy. And we talked a little bit about that, how
Yeah.
some parents are like, nope, glad the kids are gone. But some people do grief and then they get to relief and then the kids come home for a visit and they jump back to grief again. It's not like people are like, oh, how long does it take to go through all 3 stages? Like there is no how long does it take? It's individual, right? Some people can stay in grief for much longer than others. Some people get to relief pretty quickly. And again, some people jump straight to joy, but those are the umbrella kind of feelings of what it's like to be an empty nester.
Well, no, that's good to know. That almost sounds like my life right now, like with the kids. Relief,
Uh-huh.
joy.
Exactly. Yeah, we experience it all the time.
Well, especially with the boys. It's like just quit touching each other. Not boys. There's more to
They're
it.
boys. I know. Boys.
Good thing. I'm just saying. I'm like they're a blessing. So what's the best way for audience to get in contact with you?
Sure. I mean, on TikTok or Instagram, it's the Empty Nest Coach. If you just search for that, you'll find me. And then the podcast is This Empty Nest Life, and that's available wherever you find podcasts.
Awesome. And when do you plan on having your book come out so people can?
I'm hoping to have it out here by the beginning of 2026.
Awesome. So everyone will have to make sure to look for that as well. Do you know what channels you're gonna put it out on? Like
Well,
or
yeah, I'll most
Amazon?
likely self-publish it, so it'll be Amazon, probably Barnes and Noble, and maybe a couple other online retailers.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited. Like I'm not excited for the empty nesting, but I'm excited for your book coming out.
Well, thank you.
And now I got some friends that I'm like, I can have them watch you because
There
they're
you
in that
go.
field.
Send them my
So
way.
that's a plus. I'm just saying.
There you go.
So I just want to remind everybody to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Healing for the Soul podcast and keep coming back for more episodes. Thank you everyone for your time and your energy while listening to today's episode of Healing for the Soul podcast.